Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Splash, the free art school for kids. As you can see, I have my mask on, but under my mask, there is a smile. I am so glad to see you today, and I'm very excited about the project that we're going to do today. This is a project that I would like all kids, no matter what age you are, to attempt. And remember that the more you practice, the better you get. The more you practice, the better you get. So I just want to go through my process of drawing. And this is just a classical, basic process. And by you watching me, you will know how to go about doing your drawing and your painting. So today we're going to do a still life, and let's begin. So in front of me, I have a cup. I have a pepper shaker, and I have a cup of water, a clear cup of water. And they are in different positions. So we start off by sketching. We're going to use our HB pencil or any pencil that has an H on it. So it could be a HB, a 2H, or whatever. So I want you to get your HB pencil. Sharpen it. And different artists would go about this in a different way, but I want you to notice that the cup is on the left-hand side of the paper. And it's a little bit to the left and in front of the pepper shaker. And so the cup, the bottom of the cup sits lower on the paper, on your paper, than the pepper shaker. And the glass, the cup of water is closer to you than anything, even though it's smaller, it appears smaller. So what we do is we line up the bottom and see where everything falls as far as where the bottom of the objects are. So in my mind, I have an idea about where the objects may be. And I'm going to sketch in large shapes, just the basic shapes that I think I see. Some people would start and go from right to left, some would go from left to right. But I want you to remember to draw large, okay? So look how I'm holding my pencil. Do not hold the pencil so tight. When you hold the pencil tight, you're going to dig into the paper. You don't want to do that. And it's going to be difficult to sketch. So I'm turning my pencil around like this. I hold it on these 3 fingers and then put my thumb here. And so my pencil is very light in my hand. So I'm going to sketch where the basic shapes and sizes. Now some people, they will sketch, when they make their sketches, it'll be almost perfect. My sketches are never perfect. So I just get the basic placements and I will make changes. Now the basic shape of that cup is a rectangle, but the top of the rectangle is much larger than the bottom of the rectangle. I have to look at it. When you're drawing, you look at the object that you are drawing more than your paper. Now it takes years and years and years to perfect that. So I know that the cup is round, so even though this is a rectangular shape mixed with a triangular shape, I know that the top of my cup is going to be round, the bottom is going to curve as well. And I'm just going to sort of eye in where I think the handle may be. Now, what I'm doing, there's something called negative space. Negative space. The negative space is the background. Everything that is not the object is the negative space. But I'm paying close attention to this. The bottom of my cup is here. And so I'm going to do the pepper shaker. And I have to just try to find out where the bottom of the pepper shaker is. So I'm drawing a line. I've actually put my pencil up to see where that line is. From the bottom of the cup to the corner of the pepper shaker. And I'm looking at the shape, the negative space, not the positive space, between, that's the space between the cup and the pepper shaker. So I'm trying to find out that distance here. And the top of the pepper shaker is basically even. It may be a little higher. If you make it a little higher than the top of the cup, it's going to look more accurate. Now I'm going to get the width of my cup. That's basically, I measure it with the point of my pencil and my finger. And I'm going to see where that would be on the pepper shaker. So the pepper shaker, I close one eye. Now for the younger kids, you can't do this yet. But for the older students, this is for you, the teenagers. The pepper shaker is about the distance from here to there on the cup. What I did was I closed one eye, put my pencil up to the pepper shaker and measured it. That's sort of like an advanced technique there. So don't worry about it. If you were in art class, it would be easier for me to show you how to do that. But because of COVID-19, I can't be with you now. So if you just do not miss a class, after a while, what I'm saying would make sense the first time you hear me say. But soon it begin to make sense. Actually, the bottom of water is almost equal, almost on the same line as the bottom of the cup. And the cup of water is lower than the pepper shaker. And I'm trying to get the width, the basic width of the cup of water. Now, about eyeing things in. We are learning how to see, so we have to train ourselves how to do that. So the width of the cup of water is going to be almost the same as the width, at least the top part of that cup is almost the same as the width of the cup, the coffee cup. Now, when you're sketching, I could spend all day really sketching this. I have to turn up that clock over there so I can see it. And Ianth's taping. She's the one doing the taping and the producing and the camera work. So my students know that my wife is always in the studio with me, and she is an artist as well. And she helps out with the teaching. She's a teaching artist as well. So now her duties have changed to producing. She's learned new skills. It's always good whenever there is a challenge. There's always an opportunity to learn new things. So now I'm just eyeing in this cup. Now the way I see it, the opening for the coffee cup or the teacup, I don't drink coffee. From my point of view, it's not so wide. What I'm doing is I'm actually looking at this opening. See how I'm sketching out? You can have 100 lines here, but if you sketch, it don't matter how many lines you have. I'm actually looking and I'm touching the cup with my eyes, with my vision. I'm actually touching this rim here and this rim. And I'm trying to make it feel. If it feels right visually, then I'll be able to make the statement that I'm trying to make with art. The art that I do is always about making a statement. All art is not about making statements. Some art is about nothing at all. But my art is not about nothing. My art is always about trying to make a statement. There's a line on that cup that's about 1/3 of the way of the cup. And this is the line where the red glazing is. So we know the cup is made out of clay and it's been glazed and it's very shiny. Now I'm trying to draw the handle, so it looks like to me the handle overlaps the back of the cup about right here. Now I'm drawing pretty fast. You guys, you may just draw the cup, I don't know. If you just draw the cup and nothing else, that's okay. I just want you to see how I'm going to go about doing this. I'm trying to decide what's the width of this handle. It gets smaller right in here, then just down. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I'm going to measure or look at the negative space for the inside of this handle. See, the way I place this handle is not correct because when I look at the negative space, the negative space does this. That's a nice way of improving your drawing by looking at the negative space. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. So my plan is to spend the first part of this class drawing, the last part painting. That's why I wanted to make sure that I could see that clock. Now I'm making changes as I go. Like I'm going to change, I'm drawing the negative space. This space between the handle and the cup, I'm drawing that. I'm looking at that now. I'm looking at the space, this space here from here to there. How deep does it go? I'm touching it with my eyes. It's almost like I'm running my finger down the cup. We're going to do, maybe next time, maybe we'll do an exercise that's really an advanced exercise that's normally done in college. I think they're doing it now in high schools, and that's contour drawing. It's difficult to do. Contour drawing is very easy, but people make it difficult. And the reason why is, whenever you judge yourself too harshly in art, it stops you from learning and getting better. And we all have to get better. I'm still getting better, I hope. So I'm sort of happy with the shape of this cup now. See how I took my time? This is not perfect because I'm not a machine, and I don't want to be a machine. Now there are some people who all they do is still life drawing. We call it the still life because it's not alive. If it was we were drawing an animal, we would call it something else, maybe drawing animals or something. If we were drawing a person, we would call it portraiture. Anyway, doing this type, this is the best way to learn to draw is to draw something from life. So this is from life, it's still life, it's something that's in the real world. The bottom of that cup is going to be about right in here. I mean the pepper shaker. So I'm drawing a line straight across from about right here. I just measured it. Now, it may look one way the first time I look at it, and the next time I look at it, it may look totally different. So I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm trying to see what I'm looking at. And that's the thing. That's the art. The art is the investigation, the act of trying to see, the learning. That's the art. Now, I think I've told you before that I have astigmatism, so I'm putting my pencil on the paper and see if I need to straighten up some of these lines. Now, I'm not trying to make this exactly perfect. If I was, I would use rulers, okay? I don't want to use a ruler on this. So when I'm trying to express myself, now these lines on that pepper shaker follow the top of the pepper shaker. This is going to be an opening on the cup. I'm going to put a little sketch here. Oh, by the way, even when you're painting, you can do, and like today, I'm going to put a little bit more detail in my sketch, even though I'm going to paint this. You know, I'm working darker slowly. Like for instance, if I did this line here and make it skinny, I'm using the point of my pencil and trying to draw a little faster. Made that a little darker. It sort of makes it look like this rim of the cup is closer to you than that part here. Since we're going to paint, I'm not going to do too much detail, too much shading. But I could if I wanted to. If I was doing an acrylic or oil painting, the classical way would be to draw all of the details, you know, the shading and everything, and then paint over that. And the idea is that you learn what you learn from the drawing carries over into the painting. Now the rim of this top of the pepper shaker is raised slightly. Then there's a P here that's indented. So that's basically the pepper shaker. And there's some shadows. We're going to paint the shadows, but there's a shadow, a strong shadow coming down here. A reflection. It's like a shadow and a reflection of the teacup or the coffee cup. Now, let's try to draw the plastic cup. Now, the rim of the plastic cup comes out further now, than the rest of the cup. This line's bent. I'm talking you through this because I want you to see what I'm looking at. I'm noticing. These are the notes I'm taking. That line is bent. It's like you're talking to yourself. My eye is talking to my brain. Now, a lot of kids, when you first start trying to draw something three-dimensional, you would do the top of this, say for instance, this pepper shaker, you would make it overlap this line here, and that wouldn't be right. That would not be correct. The same, if you did the cup, you would have this top overlapping because you know that that's an oval there. But with this cup, it should not overlap. Like I said, I don't usually do, with my personal art, the still lifes are used as props for the background. But there are people who are masters at still life, but everyone begins with what we're doing here, sketching. So we're learning by sketching. We're sketching just to learn. We're sketching in order to learn. When you're at home, find some objects that you can sketch. And the reason why you're sketching those objects is because you are teaching yourself. All artists, listen closely, teach themselves how to paint and draw. Now, we go to art class so that we can learn faster. You need if you're serious about art, maybe making art a career or a lifestyle. For me, it's a lifestyle. And I have no other career, so it's a lifestyle and a career. You need a teacher. You need to find some way to speed up your learning. And private lessons, going to the university, going to art school is a way to do that. But ultimately, you are your teacher. Ultimately, you teach yourself. So you see this oval here? This is the surface of the water, which is going to mirror this oval. Kind of like these lines, these curved lines here, at the bottom of the oval, they mirror each other. They are the same. This curved line is the same as that one. But when you can see through an object, when an object is transparent, then you can see the top curved line is going to curve at the same degree as well. Now I made my cup is not triangular enough, so my lines should come in a little more here. And it should come in more here. So you can turn the paper. I'm going to show you how you do that. If you have a problem, when you're drawing small, you can turn your paper to get a certain line, but not to do the drawing. A lot of people, when they draw, they have the paper all crooked and they're all down on the paper like that. No, everything's going to be out of scale and warped. So yeah, this is the angle I'm trying to get of that line. And I know that there's a reflection in there inside the cup that's at that angle, and there's a line that comes there. So I'm just looking right now, I'm just looking and trying to draw what I see. Not what I think, but what I see. I'm not trying to draw what I think. I'm going to change that. There's always changes to be made. Always changes to be made. Then I set these objects on a piece of paper. I'm going to draw the piece of paper. Now, actually, I already see I found a mistake. I'm going to try to fix a mistake that I found. I think I have time. So this should be raised up higher. I need to raise up everything. if this is right, let's see, let's make sure. If this piece of paper is here, this part, this here should be higher. So what I'm going to do, since I'm sketching, it's easy to erase. I'm going to raise this up. You have to be willing to do stuff like this, to change things. And that's why we sketch. Even though I like how that look. Now, I'm doing this for you. I wouldn't necessarily raise this up unless I was really a stickler. Use my brush to brush off the residue. But this is what I want you to do. When you're sketching, remember I said you're teaching yourself how to draw. So this should be just a little bit higher if I'm going to draw what I see or what I think I see, okay? I'm really drawing what I think I see. So. And I think it was important that I raise this shape up because the paper is causing a certain reflection in the water. And it has to be logical. It has to make sense. And if I didn't raise that up, the reflection of the water wouldn't make sense. Again, these little bits and pieces are, I don't know who's practicing with me today, so we're just having fun. When I do make I'm a painter, okay? I don't do a lot of drawing these days. I mean, I draw for my painting. I draw and then I paint over it. And I don't do a lot of watercolors for my own work. I do mostly oil paintings, sometimes acrylics and oils, but mostly oil paintings because I can express myself better with that medium. And I love that medium. See how I'm making changes here? See all those changes? So if I go back and erase this, you can see which lines I'm going to use. So if I've been drawing for 50 years, 60 years, 62 years, and I can make changes and mistakes, what are you complaining about? So it's okay to make mistakes. Remember to share these live feeds. Let your friends know about them. Okay. Now you can always make changes. I don't really like how this cup is flowing. I usually start from the top, but drawing from bottom up sometimes is more difficult for me. But, okay, let's keep going. Now, this paper is hitting where I want it to hit. This line is not going to come straight down. I know it's sitting on a flat table. A lot of kids would make this line straight up and down, but you need an angle. So when this line angles out, it makes it look more 3D, okay? See that angle? Makes it look more 3D. And it's sitting on a table. I'll draw the table. This is more accurate. I'm glad I changed this a little bit here. It only takes a minute to change something. And you're learning. So when you change, you make mental notes to yourself, and you're learning. You're teaching yourself. Okay. Now, the fun part. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make some of these lines a little darker. I can go back after I paint. I'm going to put a point on my pencil. I don't want to lose my drawing. I can go back after I paint some of these areas. I'm just choosing which sketch lines I'm going to use now. When I paint, I'm going to probably paint this pretty fast. So this is a sketch line I'm going to use. I may even use my eraser. You know, I've said in the past you can use your eraser to clean things up. By the way, a lot of times when you're drawing, and I'm going to do this now, if you put a sheet of paper down, you can keep your paper clean. You know, I have these ideas that, hey, I want to do this today. I want to do that today. There's some little holes for the pepper to come out, and those holes are in the shape of the top. And so I just drew some lines so that I know where they belong. So with this one, you're going to see my sketch and my painting together, hopefully. And again, if you make a mistake, it's okay. I'm going to try to leave the white, and let's get started. Let's paint the. We're going to use mostly black and white. We'll probably use a little yellow. Let's put a little yellow in here to. I'm going to get my flat brush. I'm going to put a little yellow, a thin wash of yellow, thin, very thin, just to darken. I have a little bit more eraser. This is lopsided. Oops, before I do that. I told you before, I have astigmatism, and sometimes if I don't, I have to remember that my joints aren't going to be level unless I use a ruler. So if I use a ruler, I can see, but I'm training myself so now it's level, but before it wasn't. So those were the little changes I just made. Now, sketch lines, I'm erasing some things, but for me, personally, normally I would leave all my sketch lines, you know. Say, for instance, I might have some lines in the back. As a matter of fact, I'll put some back here. So what you can see is that if I darken the back of this, and you can do the same with paint, see how it brings this forward? Also, there are shadows. I'm just going to draw the shape of the shadows. I'm using the side of my pencil. What's cool about these live feeds, kids, is that you can go back and look at them. I'm using the pointer. I'm making some very thin lines. I'm drawing the shapes of the shadows. Did I see? I'm not going to draw all the shadows because I have so many different light sources. It's sort of like that. So that's what I'm looking at. So I'm going to put a thin wash of yellow on here. What you could do, you could spray the painting, the drawing, but I'm not going to spray the drawing because you probably don't have spray. So the same issues that you would have, I'm going to have the same issues. So by putting this yellow, I could have used brown or any other color just to darken it. I just didn't want the cup to look china white. And the challenge with this is that there isn't much color on here. Now I'm going to do a light pink shake the brush off. And a lot of times, now you do these things, and it's like, so the light pink is, I'm going to get a thin wash, thin yellow. So you can get paper and test it out. So I want that. I want to use that. I mean thin red. I'm thinking and painting at the same time. That don't usually work too well for me. See, I'm getting some paper. See, I want it thin. And where the that red stripe is first, I want to paint a wash of red. And the white, hopefully, underneath will make that part look sort of pink. Pinkish. And I'm doing that because there's a shadow that I'm going to paint in this red. A darker shadow, which will be painted with a darker red. So, and while I have this thin wash of red here, I'm going to paint that reflection. Remember we drew this reflection right here? We indicated that. That's a reflection of the cup, the red from the cup right there. And there is a slight reflection of this red in the shadow that's on the table. Okay? So we're dealing with reflections and refractions. I'm just going to use this flat brush. I'm going to try to use this flat brush for most of this picture, I think. And then I will go to a round brush later. But the reason why is I want my paint, my brush strokes to be similar. So let's do this. There's a reflection in the cup. I'm using the dark red now. That does that. I'm trying to paint what I see. See how dark that is? And we're going to do something really neat. Then it comes down like this. It's amazing. I wonder what that is. I'm not sure what that is. It may be the camera. So I'm painting these reflections, right? So I'm adding some realism to it. And then there's a line that goes across like that. I'm looking inside the reflection in the cup. Now, once I do that, what I can do, now I'm going to blend it all together, sort of. I'm going to blend it, but hopefully you'll still be able to see. So I'm going to darken it a little bit. This is fun. To me, the challenge is the fun of it all. So you have these reflections in the cup. There we go. I'm going to accentuate that dark area a little bit more, accentuate this a little bit more. See how we're going back? We always go back when we paint the thing, for crying out loud. We look at it and we try to paint it. We change our minds. You can change your mind 100 times. That's a good thing. Okay. So now everything else, I think is going to be gray. Everything else that we're painting is going to be gray. And so I'll try using my flat brush. I'll start with the cup. So I'm going to dip water in the black, and we're going to use black as a wash. You could also use brown, or you could use blue. But I think I want to use black. So first we're going to have some use thin black, see, in a wash. Like black, it's hard to control. Last time I tried to use black, it was hard. I want to use this. So I'm painting the shadows that I see. I've already drawn some of these shadows. So I fill those in, take my time, fill those in. And I'm leaving this rim of the cup light. There's some shadows that comes down like this on the cup. Also, this wide brush, generally you use a wide brush to paint large areas, small brush to paint small areas. Always go from large to small in the beginning until, of course, you get better at what you're doing. So I already have my drawing. There's a shadow here on the back of the cup. Just a little darker. I'm painting the shape of those shadows, the shape that I think I see. Like I say, you can change your mind. I see a little darker line here. That's darker. See, my wide brush makes this thing go fast. See, that's much too dark, even though it looks okay. So I'm using my paintbrush as a sponge. I'm going to take it up and use my rag, take some of that up. Now I'm going to spread the paint. Now, this handle is casting a shadow here. That needs to be darker. Hopefully I won't make it too dark. That's the shadow that's cast. And I'm going to make the bottom part of this handle a little darker. See that? So now it's all about, I'm just painting shadows. I'm going to make this part of the shadow a little darker. I'm just looking closer. That's all I'm doing. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint the shadow that's on the table. I'm painting what jumps out at me, okay? The parts of the shadows that jump out at me is what I'm painting. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to, I'm not trying to take a picture or photograph. I would use my camera is what I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to make art which is an expression. So what jumps out at me is this shadow here, and I painted that. Now, let's move over to the salt shaker, the pepper shaker. There's dark shadows here. I made that a little bit too dark, which I figured I would, and I don't care that much about that because I know it's going to be in that range. All I do is add water to it before it dries, and I can lighten it up. Paint some of these lines. The lines that, I'm painting the lines that attract me. You can use your small brush. For this part, I suggest that you use your smaller brush. Use this brush. And I'm not going to, I'll show you how you use this brush. For these lines here, you use the tip of the brush like that. And while we're doing it, I'm going to put the holes in the cup. I already painted the lines for the holes, and that can be pretty dark. So I'm just going along these lines that I've already painted. There you go. Then paint some line going around there, see? And it gets smaller, okay? Now, what I'm going to go ahead, since I have this small brush, where this pepper shaker is sitting, it's a little bit darker. Also, the cup is going to be a little bit darker to make it sit on the table. Now I'm going to blend this dark out. And the more you look, the more you see. So bring your drawings and painting up slow. Bring it up slow. Don't rush and don't just figure, okay, that's it. You know, it's an investigation. It's an experiment, however you want to look at it. I'm going back to pepper shaker. So this is a reflection of the cup. This part of the pepper shaker. Now the pepper shaker is made out of metal. So these smooth lines are going to make it look more like metal. These smooth lines like that. And there's a reflection in there like that. So by leaving white, it makes it look more like metal and make it look smooth. And then there's some gray on top, light gray. Oops. I did not mess up yet, but almost. So if I don't do nothing but just leave that like that, that's good. Now I'm going to darken this a little bit, this area there. Bring this gray up. And then I'm going to put a light stripe of gray. It's these lines that do this, that go straight down. That's too dark. It's those type of lines. See that? That makes it look like metal. And that's what I want. Now I'm using the edge of my brush to do a few more lines. It makes it look like metal. I keep repeating myself on purpose because I want you to remember that. This is how you paint metal. Those lines, see that? See the difference? Now, I would use something like this as the background in my painting. Maybe I'm a figure painter, okay? So I might have a figure and the person may be in the kitchen. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a painting like that soon, in the next couple of months. And it's going to be sort of abstract, but I'm going to have, there's going to be objects. And what I will do is indicate the objects. And a lot of times you can just indicate. What I mean indicate, you don't need a whole lot of detail all the time. So I'm going to paint this reflection in the cup first. And the reason why is because that's what caught my eye. You know, no rhyme or reason. But I think if I get this right, or close to right, it's sort of dark in the middle. There's a refraction there. There's a lot going on when you're painting a cup of water or liquid. You have reflections and refractions. And that's a line that goes across like that. And I am going to need my smaller brush. I'm using gray. Remember, I'm using black, thinning the black out. If you don't thin the black, it's going to be too heavy. And usually kids, I say don't use black. We use other colors. But it's kind of interesting, all of these grays in this still life. So I want to capture it. So the bottom of the cup, that's a reflection that mirrors this curve. I'm going to paint that. Now, I'm going to just use my small brush, because I do need more. And what I'm doing now, you can't see this, but I'm testing now. I want to be more careful with the water, so I'm testing to find the gray that I want to use. So I'm using my palette, my paper palette, to test what gray I want to use. And I'm trying to paint what I see. That's what I'm trying to do. I need some light gray here. So what I need to do is move this gray around to make it lighter. See, I picked it up, moved it around to make it lighter. Oh, this is so much fun. I'm going to paint the bottom of this. Made that a little darker. And the rim. So this is my expression. Another artist would paint this totally, not totally, well, yeah, totally different. They would have totally different sort of, maybe not, the approach would be similar. Okay, there's some little skinny lines here in this reflection that I see, and since I see it, I just have to paint it. I'm going to make a few darker. I see so many reflections here. I'm going to go dark. I'm going to get bold with this one. But I have to make it smooth. So see what I did? I added water, and I'm moving the paint around. I see so much happening in this, and I really enjoy painting water. And we're using watercolor, so it's fun to paint water with water. It's a little darker here. Now I could overdo it easily, but since this is practice, who cares? So that went dark, so I stopped. You have to watch, pay attention to what you're doing. That's why in class I tell kids, don't talk to your neighbor. Pay attention to your work. Talk to your neighbor after class. If you're talking to your neighbor, then you're not giving 100%. If you don't give 100%, how can you expect to have an awesome work of art? One thing about artists is we do our best. I can also see the reflection of the bottom of the cup right here. I'm going to paint that, try to paint that in. That's very bright. And so since we don't have white paint, if I want this area to look bright, I'm going to have to put more gray in this area here. And I'm leaving white wherever I think there are highlights. See, so you see how by my putting gray here, that this looks a little bit more white. I'm going to put some gray here too, down here. I'm going to do the same here. It makes that look more white. I need it a little bit darker. You see I'm fixated with this area. I went very dark. I'm going to blend this dark paint, but I'm trying to get a high contrast. So kids, you see how I'm taking my time? Take your time. Say you messed up. So what? You can go back over it. Let it dry and paint over it. Let it dry and paint over it. I think my aunt told me not to say anything about my puppy, but I don't know where he is, but I can hear him. He thought I was talking to him, I guess. I'm talking too loud. Maybe I woke him up. Okay. Now I'm about to overwork it. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit more. I'm actually painting what I think the water looks like. Smooth that out a little bit more. Now I'm using my small brush. I'm going to paint finish painting the cup. I see three heavy black lines coming down this way. They're more smooth, kind of like but I didn't want to make them smooth because what I'm doing is my brush strokes are going in the direction of the cup. I want the cup to look round, so this is just the way I do things. Making this part a little darker around the rim, the edge of the cup. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the rim. I had to decide I'm going to paint the top part of this rim lightly. I just need it to come forward some. And then there's some ridges underneath. You know, that may have been my stomach. That may not have been my dog. Okay. You know, my strokes going up and down like that, it's going to hopefully. Well, see, I say things like hopefully because I don't know if it's going to work or not. Yeah, I don't know. We're learning. Who knows everything? The person who knows everything is lying to you. Don't trust them. If they know everything about everything, that line. Trying to get a thin gray just to go over my pencil line here. It's a little dark, but I'd rather it be dark than not there at all. So I'll get what I can take. And I'm going to paint the reflections as they go down into the cup here. So as I trace them down into the cup, see how that goes down into the cup there? This is the other side of the cup. The back side of the cup. So see that line, see how that highlight continues down? We're gonna make the highlight a little thinner. It continues down, continues down. There we go. I'm gonna make some of these shadows a little darker. See, I'll make that darker there. Make this darker here. And darken it up a little bit. Just for contrast. Contrast sometimes can help your picture. I don't understand everything I'm seeing. So what I'm doing is I'm just making a comment, a notation, if you will. I'm gonna I'm gonna make this darker too. I think there's some value to doing that. If I make this area right there darker. See how the paint bled there? That means what I just did, I wiped the paint off of my brush and I'm gonna spread this down. I'm gonna spread it, I'm gonna move the paint around. See, now my picture is my palette. I'll make that darker. I'm gonna make this darker. I'm gonna put some of that over there. Get some more water in my brush. See, I'm searching for the picture now. Where is it? I'm close to it. I'm close. Everything is an experiment. No two pictures are the same. Actually, if I painted this picture right after I finished this one, it would be different. I'll make this area darker too. So I was saying last time, if you keep practicing with watercolor, you will one day master. It might take a year or two or three, but you'll master, in a way, master this paint, and you'll be able to paint, use any other medium. So watercolor, to me, in my opinion, is the hardest. But I think it's the best thing to learn first, is because it's what I learned first. And you become familiar with what paint does, because the water is moving around and everything. I could keep painting this, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish it. Watch how I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish it with some broad strokes, and we'll be out of here. Remember what I said I'm going to do in the background? I'm going to do this real fast and loose, okay? So put some gray in the background. I'm just moving paint around now. That's all I'm doing. You guys hang with me. I like making like abstracts pictures inside of so-called realistic pictures. Add some flair to it. I'm just painting the background. Yeah. Move the paint around. Get some water, move the paint around, using broad brush strokes. I'm going to use the corner of my brush, see if I can paint that bit. Now it's almost like an ink blot painting. I'm using black because this is almost like a monochromatic painting. Now I really want to go in here. I will do it. I can't help it. I really want to do this. Make that a little darker right there. And that's because of the background. Make that a little darker. Okay, I think we'll stop it right there. What you do, you put your pencil, get your pencil or your brush. I'm going to use my brush. Put your initials, lower left-hand corner or lower right-hand corner. Put your age. Send me an image. Let me see what you did. And until next time, remember, art is for everyone.